Hello, everyone. Pleasant day to all of you. We'll have another lesson for today, and this is about power. Okay, let's proceed to our lesson. This lesson will give you the benefit of empowering your power. As individuals, you have potentialities, you have your outstanding characteristics that is actually within you that empowers you to acquire power. Being educated by learning, you are actually empowering your power, the power that is within you. To be engaged in this topic, there are things we have to consider. Here, we need to be specific on what power we are talking about and try to evaluate their advantages and disadvantages. Theories are linked with the definition of power, and there are philosophers and other fields that bring power into a multiple and a specific contextualization. As learners in this course and in specific fields of study, you cannot deny the fact that in the near future, many of you, if not all, will gain power and stand in a position of authority. Maybe you will become a mayor, you will become the governor in the future. This topic does not aim to control and manipulate your minds on how you are going to use your power to oppress or even degrade others. Rather, you are encouraged to develop such power that conceptualizes the internal and meta differences of human beings. Okay, class, let's proceed. There are learning outcomes that we are expecting in this study of power. At the end of the lesson, you are expected to be able to evaluate how the government authorities exercise their power amidst the pandemic and to learn to handle power based on good leadership. Here, you are required, my dear students, to be vigilant, to look around you and try to evaluate what are the things that are happening. And be observant also. Try to observe the authorities, how they exercise their power in serving the people, especially during this time of pandemic. Okay, class, let's proceed to the definition, the meaning and definition of power. So here, we'll start from the classical view. From the classical view, power is always bound up with a system of law and the production of discourse. We'll say power is always bound up with a system of law. These laws actually are empowering people. It is through this system of laws that are giving power to some, especially in a democratic form of government. We have set of laws that are being exercised by authorities. And here, the set of laws also can be a point of discussion. And so power is bound up also with that system of law and the production of discourse. Okay, so another meaning of power, we can say here, we have a representative, a philosopher, and in the name of Michel Foucault. According to him, power is the moving substrata of force or of force relations. Power for Foucault is the moving substrata of force relations, having no inner or outer domain. What does it mean? For Foucault, he insisted that power as a relational force that permeates the entire social body. connecting all social groups in a web of mutual influence. When he says it is the moving substrata of force, means to say that it is the foundation or the basis of that force relations having no inner or outer domain. What does it mean? So here, if this power is the basis or the foundation of force relations, that power within individuals are making them interact with other people, relate with other people. That's why power becomes a relational force that permeates the entire social body, connecting all social groups in a web of mutual influence. So there is mutuality. One person influences the other, and the other person influences the other. Okay? So here, another point that we are going to consider in order to understand what power is. Some understandings, there is an understanding, I should say, of power as domination. As a central concept within Western social theory, the academic study of power has been approached in many ways, yielding diverse and valuable insights. Through this academic study of power, there are a lot of ideas that came out about the meaning of power. So these approaches being done by people in their study of power came into fruition with these diverse and valuable insights. Now, my dear students, let us try to explore more about the concept of power. For example, for some theories, they have focused on the different forms that power takes, as well as the basis or resources that permit the exercise of power. Some have explored the complex relationship between the quantitative distribution of power and the processes of social consent that legitimate various expressions of power. Some have examined the changing ways that power circulates throughout societies, constructing social institutions as well as individual subjectivities, as it imposes order and discipline in historically specific ways. Others have approached the subject of power from other theoretical perspectives. What I'm trying to tell you about this, my dear students, as we explore the concept of power, is that there are several viewpoints that we are going to consider when we speak about the concept of power. There are these theories, there are these philosophers, there are these natural scientists, social scientists that have explored this concept of power, and they have given several insights, theories about the subject matter, power. Okay, we'll continue. We will study here now the result of these studies, of these theories, of these different philosophers, different social and political scientists. And here we have to give the 4 types of power based on their studies. The first one is power over. What do we mean by that? Power over is how power is most commonly understood. This is the common understanding in the Western culture. This type of power is built on force, built on coercion. It is built on domination and control, and motivates largely through fear. During the time of dictatorship, the dictator dictates, so there is force. He coerces people. He dominates people and he controls people. That is the best example of power over. This form of power is a finite source or resource that can be held by individuals because that will last. And that some people have power and some people do not. We have here a proponent in the name of Starhawk. In 1990, he argues that force, which enables one individual or group to make decisions affecting others and to take control, ultimately backs power over. This idea of this type of power, power over, is backed up by this idea of Starhawk when he argues that force, which enables one individual or group of individuals to make decisions affecting others and to take control, is ultimately the point of this type, which is power over. It highlights issues of social conflict, control, and coercion, which have been the primary focus of Western social and political scientists. Okay? That is the meaning of power over. Let us proceed to the second type of power, and that is power with. Power with is shared power that grows out of collaboration and relationships. When we say shared power, individuals do not dominate one another, but rather they are actually helping one another, influencing one another, and making the other grow, as well as the other individual also contributes and makes the other individual grow. There is collaboration. There is relationship. It is built on respect, mutual support, shared power. There is a sharing of power, solidarity. The two became one. They're solid. Influence, empowerment. They influence each other. They empower. My influence empowers you, and your influence empowers me. So there is influence empowerment. And there is this collaborative decision making. We collaborate. We agree on something. We agree on this matter. So power with is linked to social power, the influence we wield among equals. We are considered as equals, and being together, we can have a great power. Power with can help build bridges within groups or across differences. Rather than domination and control, power leads to collective, active, and ability to act together. Okay, let us proceed to the third type of power, and this is power 2. Power 2 refers to the productive or generative potential of power and the new possibilities or actions that can be created without using relationships of domination. Well, this third type of power is contrary to the first type, which is power over. Power over is domination. Here, power 2 is something that is giving the person the capacity to become productive, to become generative. Okay? It is built on the unique potential of every person to shape his or her own life and world. It is the power to make a difference, to create something new, or to achieve goals. This type is the basis of models in the physical and natural sciences. It could serve as the basis for an alternative model of social power. The power 2 is the capacity of the human person to become a better person. There is power within us to change for the better. Okay, class, let's proceed to the fourth type of power. And this is power within. Power within is related to a person's sense of self-worth and self-knowledge. Well, my students, when we say power within, this refers actually to our potentialities within us. Seldom we recognize that we are capable of doing something. Sometimes we think we are not worthy. But if we have this power within, you can sense your self-worth and you have this self-knowledge. It includes an ability to recognize individual differences while we are respecting others. Power within allows people to recognize their power to and power with and believe they can make a difference. As I've told you earlier, power to is our capacity and power with is our belonging with others, our capability to be united, to collaborate with other people so that both of us will be empowered. Here, in power within, we can say that it allows people to recognize their power to and power with and believe they can make a difference. In working with families and communities, we want to nurture power with, power to, and power within, not operating from a position of power over. Our aim should not be to maximize our power over other people, but rather to create the conditions whereby power can be shared. The purpose is to create the conditions in which each individual's opportunity to exercise power is maximized in the context of the larger community. My dear students, power within is actually related with the power to and the power with. The power to is the individual's capacity to do something better for himself and for his community. The power with is our being together in doing something good for our society. And power within is the combination of this power to and power with in order for us to really overpower that power over, to remove such idea of domination, coercion, or force. So power within, my dear students, maybe in my own opinion, is the best type of power because it is actually the unity of these three types of power, power to, power with, and power within. Okay, my dear class, we are through with the four types of power. Let us proceed further. Okay, we'll try to consider power as capacity. This is actually related to what we have discussed, the power to type of power. Power as capacity talks about transformative capacity or the capacity to achieve outcomes. For power to achieve outcomes, the person must be capacitated. The person must transform himself to become capable of achieving his or her goals in life. Okay? According to Giddens, another proponent, a philosopher, power is not necessarily linked with conflict. So this is a optimistic or positive outlook about power. Power is not necessarily linked with conflict, and power is not inherently oppressive. Indeed, there is power in cooperation among equals, and even when power is unequally distributed, it can still be expressed in forms that are not oppressive, as in the empowering relationship that can exist between a nurturing parent and a child. The father or the mother, when he or she nurtures his or her children, is not imposing, is not overpowering, but caring for their children. That is the best example of a good exercise of one's power. Okay, so that's according to Giddens. Now, dear students, let's consider this time a feminist model of power. You know, uh, maybe you have watched Power Rangers, you have watched Powerpuff Girls, and others, but we're not referring to those kinds of power. But here, when we speak of feminist model of power, they are not the Powerpuff Girls, but rather, when we say feminist model of power, feminism actually is started in the times of the ancient era, and accordingly, okay, as it started in the ancient era, it is blown on the face of an equal society. Because during those times, women are not considered as equal with men. And so these women, being empowered, they now are claiming for equality with men. And so they were able to formulate their own theory, their own model of power. Many feminist philosophers acquired the title of being radical feminists because actually this is a struggle of women to become equal with men, because for a long time they are being considered as just maybe they will just take good care of the children at home. Okay, there are jobs that are only for men. There are things that women cannot do and only men can do. Even in the hiring of workers, as if the females are being discriminated. And so we have these feminist philosophers who consider themselves as radical feminists. Okay, let us try to see who they are. One of these is the famous Simone de Beauvoir, who is an existentialist philosopher and political activist during her time. But not all the feminists followed what Simone Beauvoir is thinking of. Other feminists re-engaged feminism in a different aspect, like Luz Irigaray. The power as domination paradigm served as a more subtle structure of male privilege. When competitive power struggles are seen as inevitable expressions of human nature, this places most women at a physical disadvantage to most men. Okay? Throughout the public sphere in our economy, political institutions, judicial systems, educational systems, and so forth, systems of reward tend to privilege conventionally masculine adversarial traits over conventionally feminine traits such as caring and cooperation. What women expose is the devaluation of caring and mutualistic qualities. And one feminist stands out legible form of power, Mary Parker Follett. As you can see, Follett articulated a distinction between coercive and coactive power, or between power over and power with. Follett argued that the usual understanding of power relations as coercive was limited and problematic. She argued instead for an expanded understanding, a conception of power with, a jointly developed power, a coactive power, not a coercive power, that could serve as a new normative basis for social and political relations. Follett says that leadership is not defined by the exercise of power, but by the capacity to increase the sense of power among those led. The most essential work of the leader is to create more leaders. What a beautiful concept or idea of Mary Parker Follett. You know, servant leadership, related to servant leadership, because you do not use your power to overpower those subordinates that you have, but rather you make use of your power to empower them. You influence them to do better. You influence them to do good, to develop themselves, so that they themselves will become future leaders in the society. What a beautiful concept. And Mary Parker Follett, maybe this is the reason why Follett stands out among these feminists in their concept of power. Okay, before we end up our discussion about power, I would like to share the unified schema developed by Mary Parker Follett. Follett formulated this schema recognizing the power to versus power over, which is power to, in a broader sense, denotes power as capacity. If we say we have power over, this simply means that we have the power to exercise control over that person. Feminist system models point the relation of power that do not entail exercising over power arose of the power with one another. It referred to as mutualistic power relations, which constitutes one another. So the combination of this power to, and power with is now indicated in this schema of Follett. So try to look at it. At my left, we have here the column adversaries relations power against competition. So here there are two other columns. We have this inequality. Here, power over is being exercised. And power over has these features. One, coercion. Second, domination. Third, oppression. And here in this model, in this power over, there is what we call the win and lose situations. There is only one side that is winning. The other side is losing because somebody is overpowering the other. Somebody is dominant over the other. So, talo yung isa dahil nangingibabaw yung isa. Sa next column, we have this equality. There is a balanced power. When there is a balanced power, anong mangyayari? Balanced power. Since there is a balanced power, there is a stalemate. I do not have power over you. You do not have power over me. We cannot influence each other. So there is a stalemate, compromise. There is frustration. I cannot help you. You cannot help me. I do not have power over you. You don't have power over me. We are both of us are losing in this kind of situation. Balanced power. Okay, on the other side, we have this mutualistic relations. And here, we have this power with. We are exercising here power with. And it is about cooperation, not competition. So here, there is also inequality. There is inequality, but we call it assisted empowerment. Here, it is the power to actually, I have the capacity to empower myself as I educate myself, as I learn, as I nurture, and as I ask assistance from others, I can develop myself. I am being empowered. And as I am being empowered, I am also capable of empowering others. I do not overpower them, but rather I am sharing this power to them by developing also themselves. So there is a win-win situation in this assisted empowerment. Related here is also this mutual empowerment. Same. In mutual empowerment, there is equality. Both of us have powers which we can contribute with each other. There is synergy. There is this symbiotic relationship between us. There is collaboration. There is coordination between us. And so, both of us will win in this kind of situation. There is mutual empowerment. Okay, class. This is the unified schema developed by Follett. And I hope that you can make use of this in our next activity. Because our next activity will be, you guess, my dear students, our next activity is about our reflection. Okay? Let's try to reflect. We are currently experiencing a pandemic. You know that. And all the regular activities that we have been doing since then are halted by this global issue. Everyone is affected. Not only you, not only me, all of us. Even businesses, even education, health, and small communities. This is the time that our leaders, I believe, this is the time that our leaders can fully exercise their power within their periphery or within their territorial jurisdiction. How do you evaluate the authorities from the government in exercising their power during this time of pandemic? You can make use of the unified schema as the foundation of your thought. You evaluate your leaders by trying to see where they belong in that schema. Saan ba sila? Sila lang ba ang winning and I am losing? So there is winning and losing? Or pareho bang talunan? Talo siya, talo ako? Okay? Or there is this what we call win-win situation. How did they exercise? Or how are they exercising now their power during this time of pandemic? Okay? That will be your reflection, my dear students. At sasagutin nyo ito in 4 paragraphs, 4 na paragraphs. Okay? Put it, typewritten again, and submit it sa Gmail o kaya sa ating GC or i-PM nyo na lang ako. Pwede nyo rin picturean yung inyong sagot and then send it to me. Okay, but maybe you are asking, how am I going to grade you with this activity? Okay, we have a model. We have a criteria on how I'm going to give you grades. Okay, our criteria: first, content and development. What is the content? How did you develop your message, your reflection? I will see the overall content, if there is a meaning that you are trying to impart. I will try also to look at the organizational structure, how you develop it, the structure of your presentation. And of course, we will consider your grammar, your punctuation, as well as your spelling. Kasama yan sa ating criteria. And kapag binigyan ko kayo ng 3 to 4 points, that means unsatisfactory. If I have given you 5 to 7 points, that means you need to improve. It needs improvement. And if I have given you 8 to 9 points, that means satisfactory. But of course, if I've given you 10 points, that is outstanding. I believe you have the power within you and you are capable of achieving your goal of having 10 points in this activity. Okay, class? Maraming salamat sa inyong pakikinig. Thank you and see you next week. Again, observe health protocols, keep safe, be healthy. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.